Welcome to the Building Web3 podcast. Today I have my good friend Jackie. She's the co-founder and CEO of Valora. Jackie, before we get too deep into Valora, tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get into this Web3 space?
Yeah, kind of an interesting story, but I got into Web3 a little bit by accident. I was, into crypto from just a retail perspective, but didn't think I'd actually ever work in it. But I think that, one of the opportunities that I saw in actually working in Web3 was how do you make this very complex technology understandable and accessible to the everyday person? And, my entire career prior to joining crypto was really about launching products in international markets. And so I know you had worked at Google before as well. I had also spent a good amount of time in my career at Google, mainly launching products in emerging markets. And so we talked about living in Latin America. I lived in Brazil for a couple years, launching different products like YouTube and some, advertising products in different markets there, in addition to working at companies like Twitter and Spotify. And I think one of the opportunities that I saw, which, I can lend my background and experience in, was that, as a former marketer, I really wanted to work on the kind of trust and perception problem of crypto, in addition to building products that were actually simple and that made sense for people. And so, that was the whole thing with, with working in these, bigger tech companies where it's just like, especially, working on something as consumer friendly as like Google search, it didn't always make sense to people, right? Like you really had to make the product make sense to, to people around the world, to be able to trust the information, to be able to know how to leverage and use it. And I think that was a very similar opportunity that I saw in the blockchain space. Was that like, cool, this decentralized technology makes a lot of sense. If you think about it, it's kind of like opening up access similar to how the internet did for information. But most people don't trust it and most people don't know how to use it. And so that was really one of the reasons why I wanted to work in the Web3 space, was really to contribute to that mission of making crypto accessible and easy to use for normal people.
Yeah, I would say trust and user experience are probably the two perennial issues that crypto has faced and continues to face. Talk to us a little bit about like your guys' mission and how you hope to rectify some of these like user experience issues, these trust issues.
Yeah, for sure. So, the company that I lead is Valora. We founded it about 3 years ago, and really, the whole mission is really to open up access to financial opportunity via mobile and via crypto. And we do this by building, a very easy to use wallet. And so you can kind of think about it as like a global Venmo or a global Cash App powered by crypto. So you can like text money to any phone number, but in addition to that, buy crypto as well as swap for different tokens. And we try to make it very clean, very easy to use for the everyday person and very focused on emerging markets. And so that'll be a recurring theme that we'll talk about today. But essentially, we started working on the app in the early days of working on the Celo blockchain. And, really, Celo was very focused on, mobile first mission in addition to making things easy to use for people in emerging markets. And so that was one of the things that really attracted me to that mission, given my background, having worked on launching products in emerging markets. And so we essentially started working on the early version of the app, working on Celo. And this was actually the test app that we would use to do user research in emerging markets, since you can't play with the blockchain, right? And so we needed something to be able to get user feedback. And so this test app that essentially, our team built, we wanted to make into its own thing. And again, the whole mission around it is like, how do you make crypto not only easy to use, but also something that could be useful to people. And so that's really what Valora is all about. We actually took it a step further this year with, noticing that like, hey, this could actually be something that other Web3 companies can use, meaning like a very easy to use mobile interface. And so we actually opened up the stack that Valora is built on, and launched a platform called Mobile Stack. And so we could talk a little bit more about that later, but essentially it enables any Web3 project to build their own native mobile app easily, using the building blocks, that essentially are Web3 and mobile native and easy to use.
Yeah, and I definitely want to talk about the mobile stack. Let's walk through, and this is an exercise we used to love to do at BlackRock. We'll call it the life of a transaction. So I'm a new user. Maybe I'm living in Argentina or Colombia where I actually live. And let's say I download the Valora app. Walk us through like what people can do, some of the like features you guys have there. What's the
Sure.
experience like of a transaction?
Yeah. I will talk a little bit more about, I guess, like the education process as well, because I think that's like one of the things that we also focus on is try to, do, easy onboarding from an education perspective. And so, typically we like to enter markets with, some sort of educational campaign, and whether that's like educating on stable coins or what you can actually do with stable coins. And so once we do that, someone would download the app. Sometimes we would even gift, maybe a stable coin to be able to get started, or you can top it up by purchasing crypto in your wallet. And then from there, you can do a few things. You can obviously go into the app and explore all the different functionalities. We have a discover page where we have a bunch of dApps listed. So, everything from like, the Uniswap dApp, et cetera, that you can like browse and play around with. But then one of the key things that we also facilitate is the ability to actually send money to any phone number in the world. And we have this feature called Live Links, where you could actually just tap send like you would with Venmo, and essentially put, whatever the amount, pick the person from your, address book, or even just generate a link that will essentially hold those funds. And then you can take that link and put it on any messaging app. And so, again, trying to make it very easy to use to send money abroad. The fees are really low. We try to make that as simple as possible for people.
And talk to us a little bit about, so they may sign up, they get these stable coins. What are people mostly using the Valora app for? Is it remittances? Is it like cross-border payments? Is it, hey, like I paid my friend because we were out at lunch and he paid for me?
Yeah, I think one of the things that the Valora app is a lot used for, primarily because in some of these emerging markets that we operate in, such as Nigeria, for example, where inflation is very high, a lot of it is just to access U.S. denominated stablecoins easily. And so that's like a big use case, right? Is to like be able to just save and store value. And then from there, you can do things like send to a friend or do a cross-border remittance. But it really starts with saving. And then we have different kind of functionality within the app where you can actually earn a yield off of those stable coins, through these types of stable coin earning programs. And so we see those, fairly healthy leverage, primarily because, again, like a lot of these emerging markets either have very volatile, local currencies, and also they don't have the savings instruments that someone like us in the US typically have access to. And so that's really the power of DeFi, right? Is like you're able to kind of access these different tools and take advantage of them. And so we try to facilitate like a great user experience very easily doing that through the app.
Yeah, for people that are unfamiliar with kind of the marketing context, it's like if you're in Argentina, you're facing every single year pretty much double-digit inflation. So what people do is they'll get paid in the local currency, and then they'll switch that into like a tether or some kind of stable coin, and that's just like a store of value. It's like how we would use a bank account, but they essentially have to do this initial transfer. Now, one thing you mentioned earlier was this mobile stack. Could you talk to a little bit about like what is the mobile stack and what you guys are hoping to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, one of the opportunities that we saw was just really a massive opportunity for the Web3 industry. Everyone's on mobile, and so I don't need to talk about that in general. But one of the things that we noticed was that out of the top 100 dApps, if you take something like a dApp Radar, we noticed that, a very few of them, basically less than 10%, have a mobile experience tied to that. And so when we started digging into this a bit more and looking at some of these, top dApps, we see on average about 50% of dApp traffic actually comes from mobile devices, and which kind of makes sense because, again, everyone is on mobile. And so it kind of begged the question of like, why hasn't Web3 gone mobile? This has been a thesis that we've been working on for many years, even from the Celo days, and obviously at Valora, we're a mobile-only wallet. And so after talking to, a few companies about this, is that, there's a desire to be able to meet this mobile demand, right? Like they're seeing their, users or potential users actually accessing their Dapper protocol via mobile, but they don't have a way to be able to do that. And, a big barrier for a lot of these companies is that, you kind of need mobile engineers to be able to build that experience. That's definitely expensive and it's not something that, perhaps a protocol team would want to do. But it's also like it's difficult to navigate. And so one of the things that we've thought about at Valora is that we have several years of expertise, building our own mobile app. And again, by opening up the stack that Valora is powered by and essentially having a decentralized kind of infrastructure that's focused on mobile that other companies can essentially take and build their own customized mobile app. They can, brand it in their own colors. They can, pick and choose the experience that they want to do. Essentially, this will facilitate better user experiences and also have it be accessible, to anyone with a mobile phone. And so for us, this really was a continuation of our mission of being able to provide access and a better user experience for people around the world, and kind of takes it a step further from just doing that with our own mobile app, but essentially enabling other companies to be able to do this very easily. And so this is really what the mobile stack mission and the ecosystem is about, is, again, like furthering better access and user experiences with the focus on mobile. And I think that's still a big gap and opportunity that the industry has to meet. And so, we're excited to lead the charge on that.
And for people that aren't developers, talk to them about why mobile presents like different challenges, because they might be like, oh, you built like a website and then you build a mobile app, and talk to them a little bit about like, let's say like Android, iOS differences, or getting things approved in the respective app stores. Like why do we need such a mobile stack? Like what problem does this solve?
Yeah. I mean, I think about like when you just think about your typical experience with connecting a DApp to a wallet, it can be clunky, right? And it doesn't necessarily afford that seamless user experience. Since we're very focused on emerging markets, just even think about, if someone in Colombia, for example, is like using a wallet that's localized in Spanish, and it's like, okay, great, but then they connect to a DApp that isn't localized. Like that's not really a great user experience. They're pretty limited in terms of what they can do beyond that. And so for providing that kind of seamless mobile experience and kind of owning that interaction end to end, I mean, you're able to do things like, be able to provide, entirely localized experience. You could also cut down the number of steps by actually, not removing that kind of connection that you have to make from wallet to DApp. And essentially customize and deepen that engagement with your user. And so I think those are the things that we've seen, and you can even see this as like an industry trend, right? Like Uniswap went from a protocol, they built their own mobile app. You can see the Jupiter, Dex on Solana also launched their own mobile app as well. So these are things that we've already seen, various projects invest in and be able to provide that kind of like owned and that deep customer experience for their users. And so what we're really trying to do is how do we provide the building blocks so you don't have to build it from scratch yourself?
Yeah, and for people unfamiliar, essentially, websites are built in JavaScript, and then if you want to go to like mobile apps, you've got multiple different languages. You've got like Kotlin on the Android side, and then you've got Swift on the iOS side, and then you're essentially maintaining two separate code bases. So mobile introduces, although it's easier for the user, often introduces like developer friction. So this is why sometimes you might see like, hey, why does this only have like a web app? It's that. And then you mentioned localization. For people that are unfamiliar with localization, this is essentially like having a translated site. So, hey, if the mobile app's in Spanish and then you go to the DApp, is that also in Spanish? Anything you would add to the localization piece? Because I don't know how many times people hear that word.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's one where you kind of have to look at like where your users are and to kind of pick and choose where to invest, right? And so I think that since most Web3, protocols and dApps are inherently mobile, a lot of the companies that we speak to see users that come from different markets. And so, if you're able to facilitate a translated experience, could that increase transactions? Could that increase engagement? And, the answer would probably be yes. But I think that's another potential and opportunity that a lot of these Web3 projects have, is to really take a look at like, okay, cool, like my protocol's used globally. How can we actually deepen that experience with our users and provide that to the community? And so that would be a perspective that I would share, on that topic.
Absolutely. And then can you talk to us a little bit about like who's using the mobile stack? Like, do you guys have any like early adopters and any good use cases?
Yeah. So one of the ones that we've recently launched, we actually partnered with the SheFi community. And so SheFi is basically a community that onboards and empowers women into Web3 through these really awesome education courses. I was actually a participant back in 2020 as one of the first cohorts. And so I've always been a big supporter of that. That community. We basically partnered with them to basically build a branded SheFi app that they're now using in their latest education cohort. And so, they have about 6,000 to 7,000 participants in the SheFi community, and really with each cohort they try to onboard women and non-binary people that are new to Web3, and so we were essentially able to partner with the SheFi team to create that branded very custom experience so they can do their first swap, they can purchase their first crypto, and even send funds to their friends and family. And so that was something that we were really excited to launch, and that was actually something that we partnered really closely with the SheFi team to be able to do. So that's one of the early adopters, and looking forward to seeing more awesome feedback on that.
And one thing you mentioned earlier was when you guys go to a new market, you kind of do this educational campaign. Talk to us a little bit about like go-to-market strategy. Like, what do you guys look at when evaluating? Like, hey, we want to expand to, I don't know, I'm just going to make something up. Hey, we want to expand to Ecuador. Like, talk us through kind of go-to-market and how you guys look at that.
Yeah, definitely. Some of the things that we look at on a very high level is is the use case that we're providing, and whether that's like accessing stable coins, so like store of value, is that something that's needed? And so we take a look at various markets that might have attributes like high inflation, for example, and also look at things like crypto adoption. So a lot of these countries like Argentina and Nigeria that fit this high inflation category are typically already high crypto adopters. Like they're already buying USDT to be able to do store of value, as you mentioned previously. And so, we see that as an opportunity to further expand, access to that to more and more people. And so we take a look at that. We also take a look at other things that can facilitate a better user experience. And so something like on and off ramps, like, are people going to be able to convert their crypto into fiat and kind of vice versa, because that's obviously something that's going to be important to provide that seamless user experience. And so we take a look at these some of these attributes, and we really look at like, okay, is this like a use case that we can provide, or do we have a solution that's going to work in the market? And then from there, we really take a look at, okay, cool, like, well, what are the audiences that we can reach, and are there any relevant partners that would help us, provide our solution to various markets? And so, one of the things that we did this year was actually partner with the Tether team to do this educational learn and earn campaign. And so we took a look at some of these, kind of attributes, Nigeria being one of the markets, Brazil, Vietnam, as well as South Africa being kind of the first kind of set of markets. We take a look at that. We're obviously partnering with the Tether team, and really the goal is to do some high level education and reach people that are net new to crypto, to educate them on stable coins and what you can do. And then also, after downloading the Valora app, and if they complete various tasks, we would essentially gift them and reward them with kind of like a little bit of stable coin to get them started on their crypto journey. And so we've been a few weeks into that campaign, and it's been really great to be able to do that in partnership with a company like Tether, because again, it really focuses on the educational component, but then it also couples using the actual app to fulfill some of these use cases that we originally identified as part of the solution to the problems that we can help solve.
And then we've talked a little bit about the go-to-market for entering like a new country. Talk to us a little bit about, the mobile stack, because this is actually has a different segmentation. It's targeting developers. Talk to us a little bit about how you guys have, tried to get new developers. Like what's your aim there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is definitely a different kind of ball game and a go-to-market strategy, just because it's a completely different audience. But I think when looking at potential partners, we're really looking at partners that care about the user experience and maybe have these audiences that they're trying to onboard more easily that are new to crypto, into crypto. So going back to the SheFi example, that was actually a really perfect, partner for us because, again, focus on education, focus on onboarding. They're trying to get, people that are net new to crypto. Kind of into the industry. And so, that was one that really made sense for us. I think, for some of these other partners that we're working with, Stake DAO or Stake Capital. They've been really focused on, how do we make a stablecoin earning feature very, very simple. So not having to do, the 10 steps that you need to do to be able to get, to be able to participate in a stablecoin earn pool, but actually really simplify that. And so, again, like for a lot of these early partners and developers that are really looking to simplify the user experience while still taking advantage of, maybe like the really powerful backends that they've built, mobile stack is a great solution for them because again, like we try to, really provide a very seamless user interface, and one that where we can like simplify that experience, but still provide that functionality. And so, when we look at, various partners, these are the ones that we look at as like, do you want to provide great user experiences that are very seamless, but also accessible to people? We can basically partner with you to build that experience.
And then let's look ahead, like 3, 5 years in the future. Where do you hope that like Valora is, or where do you see it evolving? Any like upcoming milestones or developments you guys are looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, continuing on with the mission of providing great user experiences, I think the crypto industry historically hasn't focused on that. I mean, I think like, the phases we've gone through have been very focused on infrastructure, which I guess makes sense. Like you kind of need to get the pipes going before, painting the house, essentially, if you want to use the house analogy. But the promising thing is that, I feel like, especially of recent, more and more projects are focused on, providing great user experiences. And again, like have been seeing flashes of, various projects investing in mobile specifically. And so really, my hope for Valora as well as Mobile Stack is that, we can continue to, be the voice in the Web3 industry of advocating for great user experiences, why mobile is important, why we need to invest in this, and again, provide that infrastructure for the Web3 industry to be able to utilize the building blocks from Mobile Stack to be able to power their user experiences. And so, my hope is that like every DApp in the top 100 DApp radar would have some sort of mobile experience, since the majority of users would be, especially within 5 years, would be utilizing and expecting mobile experiences for every DApp and protocol out there.
Yeah, and you've been in the industry for a while. Talk to us a little bit. I don't know if you saw the Stripe acquisition. If you feel like, more Main Street or more like institutional players are starting to look at crypto a little bit differently. When I first got into it, it was all 100% viewed as a scam or like a fake internet money. Are you starting to see more adoption? Obviously, I'm in the developing world, which uses a lot of stablecoins, so we see it used here. Are you starting to see it in the US, like in San Francisco? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Stripe and Bridge acquisition was actually a really good signal for the industry, and it kind of signals also that like stable coins, it has really that been the thing that has achieved product market fit in the crypto industry. And it's promising because, stable coins aren't the traditional, thing that you think about with cryptocurrencies. And I think even from a kind of mass adoption and just media perspective, right? Like when you think about crypto, you usually think about meme coins or Bitcoin or whatever. But most people, I think, especially here in the US, like we don't use stable coins because we don't have to worry about are, the dollars that we earn and that are in our bank accounts ever fluctuating. And, having that view of focusing on users in emerging markets, but then also, living here in the US, it's like, people in developed markets like don't really have to worry about that, whereas people in emerging markets do. And so I think that like having larger tech companies, like Stripe, for example, that run basically global payments and infrastructure for businesses all around the world, recognize the opportunity with stablecoins, I think is really promising. And if anything is going to just provide a bit more, legitimacy, I guess, to companies that are trying to build use cases that leverage stablecoins. And so I think that's exciting. And I especially think this past year with the adoption of, many stablecoins increasing so exponentially, it just further affirms that.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time. I saw that acquisition. I was like, oh man, it might be coming, because I'm somewhat a bit detached from things that are going on in the U.S. for better and for worse. So it's very interesting to see that. And finally, where can people learn a little bit more about Valora? Where can they download it? Where can they learn a bit about the mobile stack?
Yeah, you can download Valora. We welcome you to. Just look for us at the App Store. So Valora. And then our website is valora.xyz. And then if you are a Web3 company that is looking to provide great user experience via mobile, you can check out Mobile Stack. And again, that's mobilestack.xyz. And we're both on Twitter as well. And, feel free to look us up, DM me, happy to chat more about it. But, we're ready for everyone to use.
Absolutely. And what's your Twitter?
Jackie _ Bona, Bona.
Oh, nice. Well, everyone go get involved with Jackie. Go check out the mobile stack if you're a developer, and go obviously download the Valora app, and let's continue building the future of Web3.